Hey guys, my name's Harry, and this is...
I'm Lawrence.
And I am really good mates with Lawrence, and today we'll be doing our first talk show together. And Lawrence is my first guest on the talk show. So, let's get into the video. So, on today's talk show, we will be talking about 3 common reptile species as pets. But, actually, Lawrence, what pet do you have? Because I'm actually not that sure if it's really common or not.
I have a 2-year-old tortoise named Babu. He's a Mediterranean spur-thighed tortoise.
Nice. And
What pets do you have, Harry?
I have, well, everyone knows on the channel, I have my bearded dragon, Stevie, and I've got my recent pet, which is Woods, the crested gecko. And they are doing amazing, by the way, so, because I know I've not uploaded for a long time, so don't worry, everything's okay. So, more about Babu. I'm really intrigued. What is, like, the growth rate for a tortoise like that?
So a tortoise like that is basically the same rate as a human. They will go to up to 15 centimetres in length. This is the Mediterranean. Tortoises grow to up to 15 centimetres in length. They, like, as I said, grow at the same rate as humans. So, like, he's 2 right now, he would be a toddler. Like, effectively, he's just getting out of nappies.
And obviously, tortoises, when they're fully grown, they're not that small. Where are you planning to keep him?
I've just had an extension on my house and I'm planning to keep him in the back room, where by the time he gets to about 10, you have to upscale his cage,
Yeah.
and then once he's fully grown at 15, we should upscale again.
For those that aren't aware, for a lot of reptile pets and a lot of inverts as well, invertebrates to be more precise, we have to upscale our enclosures, mainly just because of how fast they grow, their size, and the way they just grow in general. For example, Steve, he didn't actually used to use all of his enclosure. He used to only use half of it. But now, since he's an adult, kind of, well, adolescent more than anything, he uses everything. He runs about, he's climbing everywhere. It's crazy to see these animals when they grow. Woods is just the newest part of the family, and he's already exploring at night the entirety of the place. It's just amazing to see what these animals do. And I've met Babu before, and oh my god, he is adorable. And what precisely do you feed him? I'm really intrigued because of how he grows.
So tortoises need a varied diet. Mainly, it consists of lettuce. So I feed him lamb's lettuce and romaine lettuce, and some lettuce I grow in my garden. I also feed him dandelions, which are really good dandelion leaves, and the actual yellow part of a dandelion. And I also feed him
So pretty much mostly
veg. Mostly veg, mostly plants and stuff. The one thing I never ever feed a tortoise is a strawberry. It's like drugs for tortoises. They get completely hooked on it and don't eat anything else.
That is true. If you're not aware, there's lots of videos of tortoise getting fed strawberries. Lots of people encourage it. In my opinion and Lawrence's opinion, it's not really good. It's like, if you know what horses are, they love sugar cubes, and it's
like giving
it's pretty much that.
A horse like the equivalent of 10 sugar cubes a day.
Yeah, which is in our mind, pretty much severely unhealthy. But maybe we are wrong, but still, it's our opinion for our care of the pets. But going back to your food, you mentioned stuff like dandelion and homegrown lettuce. Lots of people around the world and owners of reptiles get very concerned when picking out stuff from your garden and stuff because of pests or bacteria and dirt. What do you exactly do to clean it out?
So that's the key. You need to wash it very thoroughly. You don't need to use soap or anything because that would probably kill the tortoise.
Fair enough.
You can use just like water. Just make sure it's very washed. One of the websites which I find the most helpful for figuring out what to feed a tortoise is the tortoisetable.com. It's got a search bar at the top. You can search in a plant or a fruit or something, and it shows you if it's poisonous to tortoises, if it's to be fed in moderation, if it's like going to instantly kill them, or if you can feed it as much as you want.
So
It's
this
really,
goes
really good.
to a very important point whenever you're getting any pet. This includes dogs, cats, any lizard, any fish. You always have to do your research. Go to shops, as many as possible, as well as websites. Websites, even though people can edit it, you still can trust. You have to find the big companies that have good, renowned trust with animals. For example, whenever I got my bearded dragon and my crested gecko, I always go to RSPCA. They are a very good care guide place for all animals. So, other places that I go to, some corporations such as Pets at Home, they're good. I don't always rely on them. I go to some smaller shops. They are, because they kind of specialize in certain subjects. Because Pets at Home has a very broad, like, I don't know how to say, like, animal site, because you've got everything
There's
from
lots of-
a hamster to, like, if you think about it, a parrot.
Yeah.
But
So the information might not be as you might not
Yeah.
get as much information because they have to cover lots of different bases.
But if you were to go to your local small lizard shop, they would specialize in detailed words for every reptile that they're selling. So I would always go to a big shop, but then check it up with a smaller shop so I know everything is precise. But anyway, going back to our pets. So Steve, he's a bearded dragon. He eats a specific diet, just like Babu does. But when it comes to Steve, there are certain veg that are out of place because of water intake, such as spinach, and as you said, you feed yours lettuce, but for Steve, certain lettuces are out of bounds. So how come exactly your tortoise allowed those water intakes?
That's because tortoises, they don't drink through their mouths. Does Steve drink through his mouth?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tortoises do not drink through their mouths. On the below their neck, so just about here on a human, that is where a tortoise drinks from. It soaks up the water. That's why you should bath your tortoise daily in water that goes just above his tail level, so that he can put his neck down in and wash it. One of the things that my tortoise also does, he puts his head underwater and scrapes it like that. That's your tortoise washing his face.
So, even though people mistake, some people mistake tortoises for turtles, they're very two different things.
Mhm.
So so even though a turtle can go underwater, that doesn't mean a tortoise can go underwater.
Tortoise definitely not.
This goes back to our point. Research is key if you're getting an animal. It's all about the safety as well as the protection.
One of the other things I was going to point out is most reptiles, almost all reptiles use UV lamps, so heat lamps, effectively, to replicate the environment, because reptiles are cold-blooded animals, so they need to be hot at all times. So you need to. So my tortoise has I think it's a D3 UV lamp, so you can get them at like your local Pets at Home and stuff, and make sure you research like what kind of UV lamp, because the bearded dragon or the gecko might be different from the tortoise.
Very different. So, because this is kind of a dark thought, but like, if I were to put woods in Steve's enclosure, high chance of skin disease and maybe even to the worst extent cancer, and that's like the worst thing that you can ever do to an animal. Like, it's because of mostly UVB and UVA are two different things. UVB is radiation, right? Isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because UVB is radiation. It's not a thing to mess about with. If you get that wrong, it's lethal to an animal. You could quickly undo the mistake, but who knows what effects it could have on it. It's always back down to your research that you did before. You can't just go like, right, I've got a bearded dragon, I know which UVBs to get for my new pet, which is a crested gecko. No, nothing like that at all. Bearded dragons come all the way from an Australian desert. A crested gecko would come from the jungles of New Caledonia. So it's two different environments. So what you have to do is keep an eye on what you're actually putting for their enclosure. So another question I have for like you is, Babu is roughly what age now?
He's one, just about to turn 2.
Yeah, and when I saw him the first time, he was like literally a fingertip size, but now he's like properly grown. It's
gotten much bigger.
It's just amazing. Also like, some people actually buy these diets that for putting onto the veg of a tortoise to help them grow better. But do you believe in stuff like that?
There's different kinds of stuff, so you can buy like special things to grind up that will like give tortoise tons of vitamins. I wouldn't recommend them because they're normally from big corporations who don't pay attention to it, and there might be like an odd chemical slipped into it or something that make your tortoise sick. What I would recommend is calcium powder.
Exactly.
So that's used, just sprinkle a little bit over the tortoise's food. That is really, really, really helpful, because other than that, there's not many natural sources of calcium. Because the tortoise, a young growing tortoise needs a lot of calcium to make its shell hard.
Yeah, because, so, as I said before, Steve, I sprinkle it on his veg. But Woods, on the other hand, he's got powder, so I need, he's got a powder that you mix with water to make a paste, similar texture to nectar from a plant. So what I have to do is add in the smallest amount, like a pinch, into his powder, and then quickly mix it through so everything's okay. The problem, and the reason why I have to do that, is because originally you're supposed to put it on bugs, but the thing is, Woods has become a very odd eater. He'll just ignore crickets, and he'll just ignore other small bugs to eat. So, by the way, if any of you have suggestions, just leave it down in the comments, or maybe even post it to my Instagram that it is. By the way, if you don't know, my Instagram is Harry and the Pets. It's just that, and if you have any tips, thank you very much. Just leave it there. But as I was saying, yeah, you just need to turn it into that paste that's similar to nectar. It's kind of, in my mind, weird. Just weird. And Lawrence, what I actually want to know, so me and my family, we go off on holiday, but Lawrence is a really kind mate and he takes care of the pets. So I'm just wondering, what do you exactly do?
So with the pets, I obviously do woods paste, and I do Steve, and I also you have a special water mister thing, and I have to mist his cage.
So for geckos, a thing that's very key, unlike a bearded dragon, is humidity. Humidity is a vital part due to a jungle environment because if you think about it, it's right in most jungles are found in the equator, and the equator has a high humidity level because of it being right in the line of the sun, and all the water is easily evaporated into the air. But enough about geography and all that stuff. But the spray is to keep the animal hydrated as well as the place humidified. It also, the residue gets evaporated by the UVA, if I'm correct, rather than the UVB, which is the radiation. And the water actually is quite nice in my room because it's almost like a sauna. It just helps a lot with the animal. If you don't do it,
it's another intake of water.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a bit of a disaster if you don't do it at all.
The gecko will get dehydrated if not.
Mm-hmm.
And with Steve, I replenish his food and his water, and sometimes I pick up the poo that he's left in the enclosure.
Oh god. So yeah, lizards, I will admit, they do have the most disgusting excrement ever. It's not the best. Actually, I've only seen crested gecko and bearded dragon, like, shit. I know that's not really the best stuff to know about, but, like, what's babu like?
So babu has 3 types of excrement. He's got urates, which should come out in a liquid form. If they don't come out in liquid form, they're like, it's like a whitey kind of liquid. If they don't come out in liquid form, it means your tortoise is dehydrated. You've got his pee, which comes out just like a human's pee, and then you've got his poo, which is pretty much like a human poo, but it comes out in a big long line.
Well, there we have it, almost like a snake. So yeah, so an animal that me and Lawrence do not have is one of the I would say third most common reptiles to have is corn snakes, because that's one of the first beginner snakes most people have. We most of the time, I wanted a snake originally, but I understand on my mum's point of view. She doesn't like the idea of it. She hates the sliver of a snake. She hates the tongue of a snake. She also hates the way you feed a snake. For those that don't know how you feed a snake, you feed these things called pinkies. Those are basically baby rodents. They're kind of, and when they grow up, you get full-grown mice, which are frozen from pet stores, and it's gross, but it's necessary. What were originally your thoughts before buying Babu on like a pet to get?
So before buying Babu, I wanted a dog, but my mum said that was too much of a hassle. We got Babu. Do not mistake tortoises for being an easy pet. They are definitely not. They are easier than a dog or a cat, but they are not as easy as like something like a fish or a rat or something like that.
Yeah, I would say the top tortoises aren't in the top 3 beginner reptile pets, because I would say the top 3 is number 1, the bearded dragon, because it's literally the most common one. Number 2, probably the actually I think it's number 2 actually is tied between the corn snake and the crested gecko, I guess. But the thing is, it matters how much you want to do. It's if you're not willing to like treat it the same way you treat yourself, you're not good enough in my mind. It's like you're not gonna.
A pet requires
unethical.
a lot of work. If you don't get a pet if you're not prepared to take the risk.
Because if things go wrong and you have that pet, it's on you. And you don't want that on your mind. But as I mentioned before, I keep on saying crested gecko. Why do I keep on saying that? It's because there's so many species of geckos you can get as a pet. For example, for those who are aware of the channel Fantasy Geckos, he has a Chihuahua gecko. And I believe, I keep on forgetting, but I think it's Ned that the name of the gecko is. But he's mentioned to me before on a friend's live stream that it has a similar growth rate to the crested gecko, but I don't know anything more, so I won't be interested in buying one because I don't have enough information on it. But then there's other geckos, like one of the craziest ones I've heard is like Draco geckos. They're like dragons almost. Another one is a gargoyle gecko. There's so many, and obviously many of them will have different needs. So I would say the best starter one is the crested gecko because it gets all the basic ones done. So you've got a starting step, and if you want to be interested in owning more exotic pets, take the next step up for others to come. So I'm trying to think. I know. I'm trying to think what else to say though.
I think so. If my top three easiest reptiles to take care of, or easiest starter ones yet. Number 1's definitely a bearded dragon.
Yeah.
Great starter one. Number 2 would be probably the crested gecko, and number 3 would actually be a turtle, not a tortoise, because I find turtles are slightly easier to take care of than tortoise, because you can fill half their tank up with water, but you need to make sure it's the right type of water, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
Like it needs to be,
because I think there's like filters and all that stuff, so it won't be cheap, but still
once you've got
it'll be
all
fun.
the stuff set up. I'm not sure if, I don't think turtles hibernate like tortoises.
Because I've actually never seen
Yeah,
turtles as a pet properly before. I've only seen them in zoos and aquariums, but like you only see them for literally 5 minutes and then you're moving on to the next exhibit, so
yeah. Okay, so I think that just about wraps it up.
I think that actually does wrap it up. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's first ever talk show. It was a blast having Lawrence here, as well as we got to chat about so many things, and we learned a lot about tortoises because, as you heard from him, he has a tortoise called Babu, and let me tell you, he's an amazing owner. So
Tortoises are amazing animals to get.
yeah. So anyway, that wraps up the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one. I'll see you later. Bye.